Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
And what's going on, everybody? We got real talk here on this Monday night. For those of you who are watching, Dak just scored a touchdown. They are now up 12-0 on Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. And
yes, sir.
I got to tell you, I'm not ever going to bet against Brady, but all the signs leading up to this led me to believe this wasn't going to go well. He's thrown his first red zone interception. They kept talking about it. He threw one. He's never lost to Dallas. Not looking good. Another missed extra point though. That's not a good start. But
that ain't good for Dallas.
Yeah, but in this league, we've seen in the playoffs this week, we've seen a bunch of blowouts. So hopefully it's at least competitive. It's been kind of crazy. But before we get into that, how y'all fellas been? Dev, what's going on with you, bro?
Man, same old, trying to recover from this birthday weekend, so everything is going good, though.
Okay. Didn't drink too much with that Ravens performance, did you?
Oh, I had to drink because of that Ravens game, though.
I understand. My team ain't in it. Zach, what's going on with you, man?
Good, man. Long weekend chilling.
I love to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get right into right now. We got it at 12-0. I'm gonna ask y'all straight up: should Tampa Bay be nervous? Zach, I'll start with you.
Of course, Tampa Bay got to be nervous. Dallas is not a bad team. They got Tony Pollard. They got Ezekiel Elliott. Dak's been playing. I don't know. Dak's up and down. So really, I feel like he's the X factor to lose the game. If Dak plays good, they're going to win. But if he plays bad, they won't. But on the other side of the ball with the Bucs, I don't know. They've been shaky all year. Brady ain't looked like Brady. So, I mean, it might be time for him to just, hang it up.
Yeah. I've had that thought at one point this year, especially with all the family stuff. Once he said, F y'all, basically. I was like, all right, I'm all in. So, we'll see kind of what comes of it. Dev, what you think so far? Is Tampa in trouble, or is Brady got him right where he want him?
Nah, I ain't gonna say Brady got right where they want him, but I don't think Tampa should panic yet. We are seeing how Dallas is an up and down team. 1 minute they one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and then just the last week of the season, your Commanders gave them a whooping. So you know what I mean? It's you don't know which Cowboys are going to show up. And as we've been seeing throughout this whole playoff so far, doesn't matter what your score is, you can be up 27-0. You do not have the game won. So sorry to the Los Angeles Chargers, because I don't know how you blew that game, but you did.
Yeah, that we'll get to the Chargers here in a minute. But we had a lot of picks this past week, and ultimately we all was in a very similar boat for different reasons. Dev, you and I are sitting at 3-2. We had San Fran, Buffalo, and Cincy. We lost the Chargers and Vikings. Go figure that. And then we both have Tampa tonight. Kenny, he had 1-0 with San Fran, 2-0 with Jacksonville, 3-0 with Buffalo. He's sitting at 4-1, and he has Dallas tonight, so he might finally win a week. God bless him. And then Chris and the rest. Chris was same as us, 3-2. Damon actually had started off all right. I'm sorry, he started off with Seattle, but then he went on the run with Jacksonville, Buffalo, the Giants, and Cincy. So Damian, as crazy as his takes are, I don't know if he's on yet, is sitting at 4-1. So we'll have to track that. Now
I think
that
that's the first time all year that Damian got something.
I know,
He's
right?
on something. Shout out to Damian.
I mean, as we get through it, there's going to be some teams that got a lot of decisions to make. But we'll start with the Seattle-San Fran game. I'll pose this question. Who the heck starts for the 49ers next year? Dev, I'll start
Brock Purdy.
I think it's most definitely going to have to be Brock Purdy to start it off because we don't. It's not because of what you think, Ray. Don't get me wrong. Brock Purdy has been playing the best that you can ever ask from a backup quarterback. The backup quarterback. Let's get that right. But at the same time, it seems like San Francisco was leaning towards Trey Lance as their future. And I don't think you should just give up just because of that injury. Now I do think you're gonna have to start off with Brock Purdy in the beginning of the season, just to let Trey Lance get his health back, make sure that he's 100% before you stick him back out there. But I honestly think San Francisco should most definitely see what Trey Lance still got to offer. Because like I said, they was high hopes on him.
Yeah, I mean, they traded a lot to move up and get him. Zach, you said Brock Purdy. Is that contingent upon them winning the Super Bowl, or just as of today, even if they lose their next game, he should be the starter next year?
Oh, right now. There's nothing you can – what else can you ask him to do to show you that he deserves the job? He won you a playoff game. He literally is the third-string quarterback, which if you're the third string, you're pretty much not going to play. So it's a really 1 in a million chance he's even playing, and he's been on fire the whole time. Like, what do you want? What are you trying to figure out? What if Trey Lance isn't good? All this time with Brock Purdy, what if Trey Lance ain't good? If you good right now and he can win you a playoff game and he's Mr. Irrelevant, keep him. Trade Trey Lance, trade Jimmy G, get a good backup quarterback. Geno Smith was on a 1-year deal. Go get somebody like Geno, whatever, and use whatever you can get for Trey Lance to build your roster and keep it cracking. Because right now they have the best team on paper, and in these games they're beating teams bad. Like,
so I guess if that's the case with your formula, Jimmy G is, I think he's a free agent. I think he's out of his deal. They can get out of it without paying him. So all right, we can cut Jimmy, but what do you do with Trey Lance then? You're not going to sit him behind another rookie, so you trade it.
Why not? Because this is the reality. Like, people would keep him, but why keep him? Because you saw him play at the beginning of the season. He was okay. Not a knock to him, no good or bad, but do right by the young man. Send him someplace where he can get some reps, someplace that can actually use him. That's a different situation. You'll be able to get something out of him because teams still value him as, okay, he's something. You know what I mean? With Brock Purdy, if your team's whistling, like if it's humming like this, don't mess up the formula. My Raiders did that. We got a new coach. We can't win games. Like, so
I guess where I am cautious because I feel like this is a very, very delicate situation, similar to what we had in Washington. We had Robert and Kirk Cousins. So if you go with Purdy, I feel like he has to be great, because if you switch back to Lance at any point, I don't know that you can go back to Purdy. And we've all seen, once quarterbacks play enough in this league and they get tape, the real quarterback comes out. So right now he's in a great system. He's fresh. There's not a lot of tape. He's not playing people over and over again. I don't know that he'll play this well next year once they figure him out a little bit more. But if you make that knee-jerk reaction to start the season and bench Lance, I just think you're stuck with Purdy, because if you bench him at that point, I don't know that you could ever really go back to him. And I think that's a dangerous position to be in. But he's playing great. And if he win the Super Bowl, I think it's a non-conversation.
I mean, what has Trey Lance showed you that he deserves to play over Brock Purdy? In the NFL, not college, in the NFL.
I can't say anything yet.
That's it. Wins matter.
But San Francisco wasn't in a bad position before Trey Lance even left, and this before they even got Christian McCaffrey. You know what I mean? So I really can't down Trey Lance and say, all right, start over and let's go with Brock Purdy because, like I said, he's doing what a backup's supposed to do, and not a lot of teams have tape on Brock Purdy really. So it's just like when you finally play against Brock Purdy, it's like, what can he do best? And right now it's like you can't really dissect him because he can run the ball. He's got good pocket presence. He has good vision. And it looks like he has good team chemistry, good team leadership qualities in him. But that's also what we were seeing in Trey Lance in the beginning of the season. It was, let's get rid of Jimmy G. Doesn't matter what we get for Jimmy G. Let's just get rid of him because Trey Lance is our guy. You know what I mean? I just think that San Francisco will have a quarterback controversy because a lot of people are going to be on the outside saying it should be Brock versus Trey. And once it comes in that offseason. But like I was just saying, now that it's good to have Brock Purdy and it's good that he's playing is good because you don't have to rush Trey Lance back now. You don't have to try to force him and be like, all right, let's put him in by game 3. And if he ain't good by game 6, then we go by Brock Purdy. I just say that you can coast Trey Lance injury along and make sure that if this is your future and this is the way you want to go, you don't want to rush him back because then you rush him back, then he's no good. Then everybody's going to turn that back on Trey Lance then.
So with your example, and I can go there a little bit, but what happens if they start the year 3-1 or 4-0 and Lance is healthy? Do you go to him at that point, or you got to stick with who you got?
I say you still ride the hot hand, because at that point you don't want to mess up San Francisco chemistry, especially if San Francisco is coming off a Super Bowl win. You know what I mean? If they coming off a Super, it's going to be hard to plug Trey Lance in then. And that's why I say that's when that quarterback controversy, that competition is going to have to set in there. Now it's going to have to be Trey Lance going to have to win this job back because that backup quarterback just won a Super Bowl potentially.
Fair enough.
It's the same situation as the Eagles though with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. Like, look what it got them. Neither one.
Yeah, but man.
Yeah, but they rushed Carson. They threw Carson Wentz back into it. And I don't believe Philly was all in on Carson Wentz. I think they was a split decision. Like, well, he's our starting quarterback, and we should just go ahead and play. And we got Nick Foles just in case things happen. You know what I mean? But at the same time, Carson Wentz played himself out of Philly. Because if Carson Wentz would have just played decent, I think he still would have been in Philly.
But he sucks.
Yeah, Carson Wentz got benched on 3 teams. My boy's toast.
He's the worst. He ruined us. Now, based on what I've seen, our division was really good because the Giants looked really good yesterday. I can't argue that. Dallas looks amazing right now, and Philly's the number 1 seed. So I'm not upset that we didn't go to the playoffs, but we would have went if that bum wouldn't have started the year for us. But
y'all would have went if Ron understand what part of the season he was in too. You know what I mean? You can't just be thinking that we in week 13, we got another week. Like, nah, dog. You are in week 17. You should automatically know it's either win or go home.
Straight up.
And you trust Carson Wentz, even if you whatever.
All right, don't want to get you stirred up.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it moving to the Chargers and Jags. For those of you who have been with us, y'all know the Jags have been a team we've been talking about a lot. And we couldn't figure out who they were. And in typical Jags fashion, I don't know who they are. Because the first half of that game, they looked trash. They look like they don't belong in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence does not belong as a quarterback in this league. But they played a second half. And in the second half, Tom Brady was on the field in his heyday with all his best weapons. Christian Kirk looked like a number 1. Travis Etienne looked like Barry Sanders. And the LA Chargers turned into Matt Ryan and the Falcons or the Indianapolis Colts. So my question is, who is Jacksonville? Are they, should they be in the playoffs? Like, what do we expect going into the next game? Zach, I'll start with you.
I don't know. That was first and foremost, the Chargers fumbled the bag, and this was atrocious. You can't lose like that. That's coaching. Before we even get into Jacksonville, that's coaching. But I think the Jags, honestly, they're in the best position this is the position every team wants to have. A young team that's good, that's gritty. Like, most young teams would fold. A typical young team, even a regular team, will fold when you down like that. But for a young team led by second-year quarterback, Travis Etienne didn't even really play like that last year. These guys came back, Christian Kirk, everybody who showed up, Zay Jones, they showed up and they didn't give up. Constantly putting pressure on the Chargers, changing up the schemes. I mean, they figured out a way to score, to come back from down 27 to win by 1. I mean, they're that now. I think because they're young, they're going to make those mistakes, but I think that you're going to see them gradually grow. Maybe they're what Kansas City was before they won the Super Bowl.
Okay. Dev, what you got?
Man, did the Chargers fumble the bag, the ball, their season? I'm pretty sure now it's going to be Justin Herbert, the man. It's going to be a lot of questions for the Chargers now. But for the Jaguars, first of all, let's just get them like the biggest shout out in the world, because nobody believe in the Jaguars. You know what I mean? We all thought it was going to be a 2 to 3 year plan. They got to establish a culture and watch it grow. And it just seemed like it grew fast. It grew way faster than the Detroit Lions, because we all kept saying this is the same team that just like the Detroit Lions. All they got to do is learn how to play disciplined football, make sure that they don't turn over, and just find the identity of who they are. And each game, it just felt like them little cats just kept scratching and scratching until they became big cats. And then once they figure out that they are a team that we ain't got no care in the world. We don't care if we lose by a little or we lose by a lot, as long as we go out here and fight. And that's who Jacksonville been all season. Is this, we don't care how you look at our team. We don't care how you all think of us. We gonna go out here and fight to the end. It's because Jacksonville is one of the worst teams in the NFL in the first 3 quarters. They just flatline, terrible. Trevor Lawrence, you be scratching your head like this ain't the same Trevor Lawrence we've seen in Clemson. But then fourth quarter just miraculously come, and the Jaguars just come out and start playing even better. Trevor Lawrence got now 4 touchdowns, and ETN is racking up over 100 yards rushing, and now the Jaguars defense is becoming real stout. And it's just the Chargers, they let their injuries really beat them, honestly. I think without having Mike Williams really killed their game plan, and Jacksonville was able to capitalize on it. They kicked the dead horse while I was down. It was like, why not just keep kicking Mr. Bolt while he down?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think I don't know if it was you or Zach said it comes down to coaching. Like
that was Zach.
We killed them when they were having these issues with Anthony Lynn, and they were in close games, and he got fired for it. But for me, this rests at Justin Herbert's feet, and we saw a perfect example in the very next game. Buffalo was up big, and then they weren't. And at some point, your quarterback, your leader, has to make a play, has to make a throw, has to do something. And there were drops out there. Mike Williams, they did miss him. But I can't say that because they was up big without him. So they didn't run the ball. They wouldn't throw the ball to Austin Eckler, as somebody who was betting on his receiving yards.
Sound like you was.
Like, they just was overcomplicating it. And I saw somebody on Twitter said Justin Herbert's 6'6", but he throws sidearm half the time, so he play like he's 6 foot. And there's balls that are getting batted and tipped, and I'm here to say, similar to last year with Boston, and maybe there's a consistency with me supporting these young teams that aren't ready yet, but they're just not there yet. And it starts at the quarterback position. And he has to do some soul searching because the microscope is about to be on you, Mr. Herbert. Everybody else in your class is figuring out how to get it done. If your only competition right now is you and Tua, that says more about you than him, because you ain't supposed to be in that same class. I don't care where y'all was drafted. Your skill set has you supposedly better than that. So if this is what you're doing, it ain't enough. You got enough help with your tight end and Everett, Keenan Allen, Eckler, and even the other running back they kept putting in there. This is unacceptable. Flat out unacceptable. If it was any other division, any other team, if this was Washington, y'all would be crying from the rooftops that somebody needs to be fired or the quarterback or somebody needs to be traded. But because it's a more functional franchise, y'all letting it go. Go ahead, Zach.
Listen, man, y'all, you going in on Justin Herbert, man. Listen, I don't disagree that he could have performed better, but you have Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler was top 10 running back this year in terms of pass. He was one of the best running backs in the league. We all know that, right? You run him 13 times. That makes no sense whatsoever. Up or not, if you're up, you're supposed to be feeding him the ball. You can't also throw it 3 times in a play. If you're not connected, run the ball. They had 2 drives of 3 and out passing plays, trying to go more than 10 yards. Why? That's coaching. And I'm not saying Justin Herbert, because he should make these passes. These passes have to be made. But at some point, you have to put your quarterback in a winning position. If he's passing and you go 3 and out, run the ball. You have a running back who's good. Why is Joshua Kelly running 7 times and Austin Eckler running 13? That's crazy. Austin Eckler should have had over 20 carries. He should have had over 10 targets. Everett had 6 targets for 109 yards, and he was good. But these are the guys you got to lean on in the time. You can't make Justin Herbert foot the whole bill. And some of the receivers from the Chargers got to catch the ball. There's a couple drops out there. But regardless of it, you can't get beat like that. Regardless of whose fault it is, you just can't get beat like that.
Agreed. And to your point, Travis Etienne had 20 carries. So how he had more carries when they were down than Eckler had when they were up, I agree that's not how it's supposed to go. So they got to sit with this.
Gave that game up.
Yeah, they got to
gave up. They gave up too early. It's like once they was up 27-0, I don't care if you know the game plan or not. I'm running the ball now. Now it's just me versus the clock. And Eckler would have had about 40 carries by the time we was done.
So here's my other kind of sideways question. Everybody hyped up the AFC West coming into this year. It was supposed to be just this gauntlet, this everybody. I think it was Chris was on here saying every team might make the playoffs.
He said that.
He said touchdown Dallas. Just quick update. Touchdown Dallas. It is getting ugly early. Every time they put a graphic up, it's like pro Tampa, Dallas does something. It was Tampa has given up the second fewest points in the last 2 minutes, touchdown Dallas. No interceptions in the red zone, interception. Like they are cooking Tampa right now with these graphics. But my question is, was this the most disappointing division in football this year and potentially all time given all the hype? Zach, I'll start with you.
Whoa, all time's extreme. I think this year, because you saw names move, like you saw Devontae Adams go to the Raiders. You go, okay, well, they were good last year, so you add a top receiver, you're going to be excellent. You think that Russell Wilson's going to come to the Broncos and turn him in, and it'd be Peyton Manning 2015 or something like that.
He missed another field goal.
Yeah.
That's his third missed extra point. They better hope
he getting fired.
He better hope they win. If they don't win, he is he's going back home solo.
Yeah, he can go ahead and clean out his locker tonight. He fool around and they lose his game.
That's too much.
My bad, Zach, man, but that was just too funny, man.
But I think everybody in the AFC West was supposed to be tough. The only team really that's solid in the AFC West that everybody knows is KC. So the Chargers, I don't know. The Chargers are like the Commanders of the West Coast because they're good and you think they can do it, but they don't. So I don't know. That's the thing. Chargers need a new coach. Chargers need a new coach. My Raiders need a new coach. I mean, we had Rich Bisaccia, if I'm not mistaken, that was his name last season. After Gruden left, we did good. We looked good, and then we get Josh McDaniels, who, if you're an OC for Peyton Manning, you're not special. Like they got to stop giving these people that work with. Tom Brady. If you work with Tom Brady, you don't deserve a job. And these coaches go coach with Tom Brady as an OC and get a head coaching job and be terrible. But the AFC West, they fumbled the bag. Not the worst of all time, but they fumbled the bag.
Dev?
I agree with that. I ain't gonna say the worst of all time, but man, just look at the quarterbacks that was in that division. You had Pat Mahomes, you had Justin Herbert, you got Derek Carr, and you got Russell Wilson. And out of all those 4 quarterbacks, 2 of them are Super Bowl champs. So it was just like, all right, this can be a division where it's going to have to be cutthroat, man. You're going to have to step on some heads, some toes, just to get out this division. But then we just looked at the Denver Broncos. And I think I had said this, like, in the middle of the season, like, trading for Russ, you put Russ into the Denver Broncos, it was just like leaving him on Seattle. You know what I mean? It was like they had the same type of wide receivers in Seattle they had in Denver. The same type of defense they had in Seattle, they had in Denver. The only thing that Denver didn't have was a good running game, just like how Seattle, when they went down 3 different running backs. That was the only thing that Denver didn't have that was just like Seattle. And then we just watched Seattle make the playoffs, where Russ didn't make the playoff for the last, 2-3 years now? So now we put him on to the Denver Broncos. We was all some of us was all hyped because it was like, all right, maybe Russ need a new change of scenery, new coaching style. Russ was probably going to light it up. But he stunk it up. That let's ride, that let's ride slogan died about week 6. I ain't heard nobody say let's ride, anything in that nature no more. It was just like, let's get this season over with, please.
He got Nathaniel Hackett fired.
Right, Nathaniel Hackett got fired. Derek Carr got fired.
That was a disrespectful move.
You know what I mean? Justin Herbert didn't do what we all thought. Justin and Pat Mahomes was the only person that everybody was like, dang, y'all forgot all about me. Y'all just left me in here. I've been winning the division for the last 4 years, and y'all just talking about they was going to run me out of here. You know what I mean? They was like the only solid team throughout the whole season. Only thing good that Josh McDaniels did in Las Vegas was to prove to us that Josh Jacobs is a 1,000-yard back. That was it. That was the only thing that Josh McDaniels was able to do. But disappointing season for the AFC West. Like I didn't expect this outcome. I'd have thought it would have been at least 3 of those teams trying to all fight to get in, like how the NFC East did. You know what I mean? So disappointing for the AFC West.
Definitely disappointing. But they'll be back next year. With that being said, Zach, as the resident Raiders fan, who would you want to start at quarterback for y'all next year?
That's hard. So since that we're getting rid of my boy Derek Carr, 9 years as a Raider, he was a good quarterback. We never had a good defense. So I think that next season, it depends on who's available. I mean, if Lamar Jackson's out there, go get Lamar. But the realistic person I think we're going to end up with is somebody like Jimmy G. That's probably, I think, more up our speed. I think that's kind of more of what Josh McDaniels wants. Somebody similar to the Tom Brady system. Jimmy G can just not lose you the game. You know what I mean? I think that it depends also if we franchise Josh Jacobs. You know what I'm saying? So if we franchise him, then you can get a quarterback that's not as good. So we can, try our luck at Trey Lance. But I think Jimmy G is going to be the realistic move. I don't know if they can use Carr as leverage. If the Raiders are able to use Carr as leverage, I think then if Lamar really wanted out of Baltimore, I think you could pry him out for a Derek Carr, or maybe he goes to the Commanders and we'll take one of the 9 quarterbacks you guys got. So
you don't want Carson, I tell you that.
No, we
So,
don't.
So what about Geno? He's about to be a hot name in the market, really. I think Geno can fit in Las Vegas. I'm not saying that Geno will flip the script for Las Vegas, but as far as Jimmy G, I don't think he's gonna be able to hit Devontae Adams downfield like how Devontae likes to be hit downfield. Jimmy G is too conservative. For Devontae Adams. Now, I think Geno Smith, if Seattle don't want him back, Seattle will be stupid if they don't bring him back for at least 2 more years. But I think Geno Smith will be a decent pickup for y'all. Now, I don't know how he was surviving that Josh McDaniels system, because as we all just seen, this is twice now that Josh McDaniels messed up a good quarterback wide receiver combo. Yep. And only did it in the year span. But I think Geno can give y'all a better chance because, like I say, he's not scared to put it out there. He was a little bit more accurate this year than he has been in his whole career. And I think him sitting on the bench for all those years has helped Geno grow and mature into a decent quarterback. Because I think Las Vegas is about to head into the draft pool for a quarterback. I think that's the way y'all going to be going.
But I mean, if we do that, you got to get rid of Devontae Adams. You can't have Devontae Adams with CJ Stroud. Not saying that, he can't play with them, but, you want him to get yards. He's trying to win. He's not at a point where he can go through a rebuild. So then I feel like that kind of puts us in a weird situation. Whereas, let's say we get blessings from the football guys and we get somebody like Lamar, I think we could be a deep playoff contender. So.
So I guess, and here's my other question. I wasn't planning on going to the Raiders initially, but they've basically burned that bridge by benching Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what Geno looked like with Pete Carroll. We've seen what other quarterbacks look like with different coaches. We see what the 49ers do with their quarterbacks. Do we think Derek Carr just forgot how to play the position, or does Josh McDaniels just suck?
Josh McDaniels sucks. I think that's you can't do the same thing twice. It's like you said, Dev just said, this is the second time he's done this. Devontae Adams and Derek Carr should have had a better connection, but also you can't throw it to Devontae Adams 17 times a game. Like, you can't do that. And they do that. That's one of the reasons they lose. They're not utilizing Hunter Renfrow or Darren Waller. You know what I'm saying? They're just trying to pump it down. But I think Josh McDaniels is just not a good coach.
And so that's kind of my point. And on a much lesser scale, reminds me of the Brooklyn Nets this offseason. When there was a bunch of turmoil, and I was like, if they would just chill out, the team is solid. Like, I think Vegas is still a good team. I think the offense that was implemented was not one that was beneficial across the board. Renfrow just died out of the offense, and he's too good to just forget how to play to the level he forgot how to play based on his stats. But
Waller
I think a lot
should
more
have died out the offense.
I think that's more coaching than quarterback play. And yeah, he missed some throws, but similar to what Dallas tried to do with Dak, you got to get your quarterback into a rhythm. You got to get him some easy throws early. And I just don't know that they put that offense in the best position, because it was like, oh, I got all these toys. I'm Josh McDaniels, this offensive genius. Look at all this cool stuff I'm about to do. And you end up looking like the Arizona Cardinals. And that's just not it. So it sucks, but I do think Derek Carr is gone, because I don't think him and Josh McDaniels can coexist. But I think y'all going to make y'all situation worse, because I don't think a better quarterback's going to come available. And y'all going to have to throw a lot of money at somebody, for more than 1 year. Geno ain't taking another 1 year deal. I don't think you're not going to get Geno. The people you're going to get on that type of deal is maybe Jameis Winston or Carson
Wentz. Or
Stop.
they can get Baker.
Nah.
They can get Baker.
I'm good on Baker.
Baker need to go back to LA.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents. I think that's a good system. And Sean,
stay where you're good.
We talk about quarterbacks and systems. I think that's a good system for his skill set. He gets some players around. He could be the backup. He could be the Brock Purdy and just chill out until Matt Stafford's ready to hang it up. But, we'll see. Here comes Hater Damien. We've been missing each other. Let me see. Carr is not a starter. He is a backup. He sucks. Oh, man, as a starter. How can you play in the league having all those weapons around you and all those coaches and do nothing with them? Well, we just talked about it. I don't think his coaches was that good. Now, what I cannot defend is he throw way too many pick sixes. It was funny last year, but he keep throwing them, and you can't do that. But I do. Go ahead.
And for Derek Carr credit too, man, he had about 5 or 6 different head coaches and offensive coordinators. So it's kind of hard for you to be a stable quarterback when you got to go through different systems. Now, the only thing that might have helped Derek Carr out is that him being in different systems, you should know these systems, once it comes to him. But for you to not actually have a system that you can just stay with for at least majority, if he would have stayed with a system for at least about 5 of those years out of those 9 years and with the Raiders, we probably have a different conversation then. He was on an organization where it was so much disruption in the beginning when they was trying to leave from under one general manager to another. Then they was too busy trying to find the right head coach. Pretty much the Raiders don't really have an established culture anymore. It's so I think that's going to hurt your franchise quarterback if you don't have an established culture. Remember, just 2-3 years ago, we thought Jared Goff was one of the bottomest quarterback in the league. I'm not saying that he's top 10 now, but with Detroit had to establish a culture now you don't compare Jared Goff to a Sam Darnold no more. You know what I mean? You kind of can say, all right, Jared Goff had a decent year this year. The Detroit Lions were just this close for making the playoffs. And that's what you almost can flip side to say about Derek Carr. It was just you got him the right pieces. You got him a great tight end. You got him a number 1 wide receiver, a number 1 running back, a number 2 wide receiver. And y'all just made the playoffs last year. So it was just the system. There's no culture there. There's nothing you can stand on to say, like how the Ravens say, play like a Raven or anything. They have that culture there, which Las Vegas, by them going to a new town, new everything, it's just where's that culture that they can establish and lean on?
Yeah, I think that starts from the top down, and Mark Davis Jr. is going to have some stuff to figure out because you do have decisions to make. You got to figure out if you're going to franchise or pay Jacobs. That's expensive. Devontae is expensive already.
So, they already gave him a big contract when he got there. So
yeah, you don't want to waste these years. Is my point with a bad coach, and I don't think McDaniels is it. Speaking of other coaches, one better than the other in my opinion, but I got to give a lot of credit. I was hard on Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins to end the year. They competed. I don't know if it was more that they were good or Buffalo played down the competition, but one way or another, they was in the game. And when they could have quit, they didn't.
Yeah.
And they took the lead at one point. Josh Allen looked real shaky. I'm going to be honest. That fumble was not it. And so I got on Herbert's head. Josh Allen figured it out, but he wasn't great either. So my question for you guys is, what do we expect out of Miami next year? Dev, I'll start with you.
I think it's going to be a little chaos in the beginning. because they still got to figure out their quarterback situation all over again. Is Tua going to be the guy? Do we need to bring in somebody else for just in case Tua is not the guy? So that's going to be a top priority for the Dolphins. As far as everything else, I think everything was good. I mean, as far as you not having your franchise quarterback, where the Dolphins in the beginning of the season when you had Tua, it looked like the Dolphins was clear cut the best team in the AFC at once upon a time. And then once you lose Tua, the Dolphins most definitely was what 0-4 in December and 0-2 or 0-1 in January. Um, so but in those games they when they win, Miami was always in the game. It was never a blowout, really. So at least you can say that Mike McDaniel at least can say that he has established his presence down in Miami, and it looks like Miami is can turn the corner to be a winning franchise again. Um, it's just that the Bills, like you said, Josh Allen just the Bills going to have to find a way to start having Josh Allen do everything. Like you can't have your quarterback be your lead rusher all the time and always trying to go for the haymaker hits. You can't always go out for the knockouts. You can't just keep throwing Gabe Davis these go routes and hopefully he can come up big and stuff like that, because eventually, just like how the Bills was put the blanket over Tyreek Hill and Waddle, don't you think the Dolphins was going to do the same thing to Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs? So I just think the Bills going to have to show they're going to have to find a running game, a sustainable running game, and stop having Josh Allen do everything, because if you have him do everything, by the time if you do make it to the AFC Championship and you're going against Pat Mahomes again, it's most definitely going to come out to be a shootout again. And we expecting Josh, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people want Josh Allen to win this shootout this time. So most definitely the Dolphins, they got something. They just got to find who their franchise quarterback going to be, and I don't think Tua is going to be the answer.
Okay, Zach, I saw you shaking your head. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree to an extent. Like Miami was in a good position. I mean, 2 years ago, if you told me Miami was going to be in this position, I could have possibly seen it, but it would have been a lot of changes. They made those changes. They got the coach in Miami showed you that's good coaching. That's how the Chargers could have not lost that game. That's how other teams lose games. You have bad coaching. So he coaches them into games. He puts his players in the best position to be successful as many times as he can. He's willing to switch it up and try new things. And if something doesn't work, he's willing to pivot. A lot of these coaches just do the same thing and they're not winning games. And that's the reason, you know what I mean? These old ideas. So I think that they have somebody, there's a connection. My only concern with Tua is Buddy done had way too many concussions. And, at some point, you can't have your quarterback handling these, having these kind of injuries consistently. So I think you can move on from Tua, honestly. I would dangle him out there, see what I can get. I think I wouldn't want to give him up, but I mean, if he gets 2 more concussions next season, is he playing football ever again? The high probability he won't. There's also a high probability he's going to get sacked a bunch of times. So I don't know. Maybe you move on from Tua if you can. Maybe you try to grab something in the draft.
I think that, Zach, you actually bring up a good point also is durability. And in that offense with that speed, you're going to need a quarterback that can hold the ball and can throw the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't think Tua fits either of those categories very well. I think we saw that towards the second half of the season where the offense just looked different. I think there's no doubt Skylar Johnson has a better arm than Tua, but obviously the DeMar Hamlin situation was something that was unique. But if something was to happen to Tua on the football field, there's absolutely no excuse from anybody. Like, we have seen enough that if something happens, no one can be surprised, and there's going to be enough blame to go around.
Mm-hmm.
So for those reasons, I could not invest in Tua long term. If he goes somewhere else and, becomes Steve Young, so be it. But I wouldn't take that risk. I just don't know what you go get. I think Derek Carr is a viable option. I think there may be some other options that come available, but it's tough. It is tough, especially if Justin Fields might be available. So I think you got to kind of. I think what Chicago does is going to play a role in free agency too, because if Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson are both available, that changes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. And yeah, Damian, to your point, you got to hold the ball, and that O-line is not it.
No, you can't let your quarterback get hit like that.
And they had a decent run game. Mostert was solid throughout the year, and so was Jeff Wilson Jr. So it's not like they have no run game.
Jeff Wilson he turned it up in San Francisco, so now it's looking like they shouldn't even have moved him.
Yeah, but Christian McCaffrey makes life a little easier. I will admit that much. He looks like there was a little unsure if Carolina wanted to extend him. With him in San Francisco, you're like, what was y'all thinking? Like, he definitely deserved the bag.
Most definitely.
Now they talking about Fields being out of there. So and there's good reason why. Come on, Brady. That was an awful throw. I mean, the value's there. Stroud, I think, is most people's number one. There's value in that. And Fields is good, a solid quarterback. I think he needs a line and better receivers, but we'll see.
But we got to move a whole lot.
Yeah, the Bears are literally terrible. Like, they're not good at all. So, but I mean, I don't know how you move on from a guy who almost broke a rushing record as a QB with no help, and the game plan wasn't designed for him until the 7th week of the season or whatever. He can throw. He has the ability. I think you nurture it. I think it's a wild decision to just grab a unproven rookie. These draft they just prospects.
That is true. That is true. We'll keep it moving to the next game. A surprise to some, not to me. I did get this game wrong a lot in ways because I believe the hype. And Kirk Cousins is who I thought he was.
Who he thought he was.
Like, I've been consistent on here. He's just not the guy. And similar to coaching game plans, as also someone who was betting, they just stopped throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson in the second half. Like, he had 7 catches for like 40, 50 yards in the first half, and they just didn't even look his way. Like, they fed Hawkinson, and I guess that was the game plan. But in clutch moments, like on the last drive, they didn't throw the ball to him. He didn't even get a target. And I've watched Justin Jefferson beat me in fantasy because they force feed him the ball, especially when they're down. So I don't know what happened to Minnesota. I'm not surprised by it. Let me be clear. But it is disappointing the way in which they went out because I feel like they could have put up a much better showing. But Dev, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts from the Giants and Vikings game?
Kirk Cousins is not a quarterback you should bet on primetime football with, big stage or anything in that nature. Because in the beginning of the season, I said Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, and Cook was the best trio in the league. You know what I mean? You got a quarterback that can throw over 3,000 yards. You have a wide receiver that gets over 1,000 receiving yards, and you got a running back that gets over 1,000 rushing yards. Yet that means all together. That means out of those 3 people, those 3 guys are probably putting up 5,000 yards of offense, and you still can't win nothing. You can't win nothing. And my homeboy told me as I was making these parlay bets, I said, man, this Vikings and Giants game is giving me a headache. He was like, yo, don't bet with the Vikings. I said, why not? He said, yo, Kirk Cousins don't show up in no big-time games. I said, yeah, you right. And sure enough, I went with the Giants on betting. And the Giants got me a couple of dollars. So shout out to the Giants. Shout out to my old defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, man. Shout out to the whole organization over there, man. Because golly, like you said, Jefferson was eating the Giants alive in the first half. I don't understand what was the Vikings coaching staff thinking. Wink Martindale only likes to go man, and when he goes man, that means his pressure is coming on. So if you know that, how you're not giving a hot screen, a go route to one of the best wide receivers in the game? I just don't understand it. And so the Vikings deserve to lose. The Giants was hot. The Giants is one of them other teams that came in there, ain't really got no kid in the world, and that's credit to that head coach and then man, what's his name? What's his last name?
Who's coach?
The Giants coach.
Brian Daboll.
Yeah. Shout out to him. He gave the Giants the attitude like, look, guys, we have an effort. We have an effort attitude right now. Either we win or we lose. There's no in between. There's no more victories. None of that. You know what I mean? Just go out here, give it your best, and we'll see where we get there. And now the Giants got two decisions to make. Do you franchise tag Danny Dimes or do you franchise tag Saquon Barkley? Which one of those guys gonna get the big contract now? It's gonna be hard for the Giants, but the Giants, man, they're a scary team. I'm not giving them no Super Bowl, not yet, but that is one of the teams that you can't count them out. And I believe the only way they're going to exit the playoffs is only because of their defense. Somebody's going to expose their defense. Somebody's going to understand who Wink actually is. And you know, that's not discredit to the Giants because they've been riding the die with blitzing all year long. But I just think that as you get deep into the playoffs, somebody's going to understand what's your game plan. And, you know, if you get the Cowboys or if you get the Eagles that you've been seeing multiple times throughout the year, they already know how to play you now. You know what I mean? And that's where I think the Giants is going to have that downfall. But the Vikings, doo-doo, trash, waste of talent. Get my man Jefferson out of there before he wastes his talent down there, man, because the Vikings, as long as they got Kirk Cousins, they is not going to win.
Yeah, hard to argue against it. Zach, your thoughts?
The Giants, they did their thing. The Vikings been frauds all season though, so they do this. This is normal behavior from Kirk Cousins. This is normal behavior from Dalvin Cook. This is what the Vikings do. At some point, that's another team that they're just mediocre. They're gonna make it to the playoffs. They're gonna lose in the first round, or they're gonna lose right before the playoffs, kind of thing. You got Justin Jefferson. You got the talent. That's poor coaching. If he's hot, feed him. We're not gonna give it to Tyler Hockenson if we're not scoring. And shout out to Daniel Jones. He was somebody else we didn't expect. I mean, he's been playing well all season, but that game was one of those icing on the cake games where you go, "Oh, I'm arrived." So
they call him Vanilla Vick up there, man. Vanilla Vick.
Oh man, here we go.
Danny Dimes out here. That's funny.
No, that was actually pretty good. I hadn't heard that yet.
For real?
Yeah, I'm not following no Giants news.
I forgot what I was listening. I forgot who podcast I was listening to. You know what? It was Club Shay Shay, and Michael Vick is on there, and they was talking about the different styles of quarterback, and they were saying how Lamar Jackson is more compared to him, but they do Danny Dimes in there, and they was like, yeah, they call him Vanilla Vick. It was like, what?
But I'll be honest, it wasn't until we played them that first time this year when I was like, yo, he can move. He was nice. Cooking us with his legs in that game. And then when you would heat him up, he would beat the blitz to these no-name receivers. I got to give him all the credit in the world. I know Geno's probably going to win most improved the comeback player, but Daniel Jones should be in that conversation. I don't think he got nearly enough credit for how they performed this year. And yeah, their defense was really good. but he made a lot of plays at key moments. And Dev, to your point, I think it gets really tricky when you look at if Tua got to get paid, Herbert got to get paid, Lamar got to get paid, and Daniel Jones got to get paid. Who deserves the most money out of that group? One guy's still playing.
Yeah.
So 2 other guys ain't had no playoff success for real. And none of them have, really. One got an MVP. But if I'm Daniel Jones' agent, I'm sitting at the table like, I see what Josh Allen got. I see what some of these other players, Joe Burrow's on pace to get. As far as accomplishments and achievements, we right there. And I don't want to hear
Cowboys touchdown.
Oh, another touchdown.
24-0. 10 minutes left in the third quarter.
What are the odds that he misses another field goal, extra point? What's the
it's a high chance. He didn't miss 3. It's a high chance.
You just got to go for 2 to be safe.
It looked like he didn't go out of bounds. He stayed in barely, and a heck of a throw. Dak is out
Tom
here
Brady out.
Cooking.
It's about time. It's about time.
Yeah.
Hey, remember, it looked like this when he played Atlanta in the Super Bowl too. Same time, similar score, different outcome.
I don't know. This Dallas defense look a little different tonight. They back to that Dallas defense from earlier in the year.
Julian Edelman ain't gonna be there. Ain't gonna be there to catch them circle catches this time. Catching between people's legs and stuff like that.
Go figure. NFC East team knocking off Brady. Taylor Heineke did it. Eli Manning's done it. I guess it's time for Dak Prescott to get into the act. But that takes us to Baltimore and Cincy.
Ooh.
And Cincy tried to give it away. They had a good thing going with Jamar Chase, and then they forgot about him. And the game got close, but ultimately I think the better team did win. But as the resident Ravens fan who's now home with the Commanders, Dev, tell us, how did you feel about the game? And I know you picked against them. So
I picked against my boys. I knew it was coming because we was going in at first. We was going in with a third string quarterback, and as we've been seeing so far throughout these playoffs, there's only one third string quarterback that's having success right now. So, and then Brock Purdy ain't gonna be playing for multiple teams and walking. You know what I mean? So he was unavailable too. So. You know what I mean? So, but as far as the game outcome, the Ravens shot themselves in the foot multiple times as usual. Let's start off with the coaching. Man, Greg Roman and John Harbaugh, I don't think they on the same page. I just think John Harbaugh is one of them nice guy coaches that be like, all right, I'm gonna let you run this play this time. You know, next time we ain't gonna let you run this one. And I think that's what kills us sometimes. That Harbaugh is not like that. Sometimes he's just not firm to what he really wants to stick to. Because I'm not. Tell me if I'm wrong. When we do a quarterback sneak on the 2 to 3 yard line, is I'm jumping over the crowd, or is I'm going through the crowd? Because I swear, I was taught in my football years that we go through the crowd. The only time you're going over top is if it's on that inch yard line or something in that nature. Because when my man jumped, man, it was just like it was this much space left from the end zone, from him breaking the line. I was like, yo, where are you jumping at? What are you reaching for? It's like, number two, the way how the Ravens lined up on that quarterback sneak, it was set to have your quarterback to be pushed, not jumped over the crowd. So that's another thing. Another bad coach decision. I understand you trying to get Mark Andrews in the game. I totally get it. But to have that man play running back, we ain't had that man run the rock once all year. Not one time. So you decide to wait in the playoff when there's no Lamar. I understand you trying to do everything you possibly can to keep yourself relevant. But we ain't put Mark Andrews in the backfield all year. Why the hell we going to run the ball with him now? Why give him his first carry of the year? That part I'm not understanding.
He missed another field goal.
You lying.
You got to be kidding me.
He missed it. He chipped it to the right.
He
about to cry.
He hit the upright.
Jerry Jones gonna choke him out in real life. Like
he is not riding back with the team whether they win or lose. It doesn't even matter. He's giving them points. But
I thought he would have been better at the halftime. They got a chance to collect himself, but this
his foot is out of bounds.
This is disgusting.
They should have just went for 2.
Should have went for 2. That offense is playing way better than he's kicking. I tell you that.
You cannot be 0 for 4. But Cincinnati, they might have got exposed a little bit. Especially if a team that has like a good solid defense like as the Ravens we had. Because like I said, Jamar Chase, it looked like that offense was getting ready to start cooking. Probably about like mid first quarter. But us being the Ravens, we played that ground game and we chewed up the clock twice on 2 possessions. Where we had like a 17 play drive and a 12 play drive. And it looked like the game plan was to keep Cincinnati and Joe Burrow on the sideline. But when you can't throw up points, and that was our only downfall, we can't throw up points. You leave at Cincinnati to be like, all right, we can figure it out the 4th or 5th time. Then if we can't get it right the first 3 times, and that's what Cincinnati did. After a while, Cincinnati was like, let's just beat up the Ravens. They don't have no DBs that much, so let's beat them up in the DB lanes. Let's put Jamar Chase in the slot. Let's put Higgins out wide 1-on-1, and let's let Joe Mixon go crazy a little bit. And for a while, it was working for Cincinnati. And now Cincinnati was eating up the clock. But Huntley, my man, good backup quarterback. But I remember all that talk we had for him last year. Like, oh, yeah, he's a good starting quarterback. He can go in any system and win.
Well, he's a Pro Bowler, so.
He's a Pro Bowler.
Over
alternate.
Trevor Lawrence.
He's an alternate. I don't know how he got that. Like I said, thank you, Ravens flock. It shows me that we can get our vote on when it's time to be voting. But I don't see how he became a Pro Bowler. Unless a lot of people turned it down. That's the only way I can see it.
That's sick. That should have never happened. Zach, I'll let you go before I get into Baltimore and Cincy. Kind of your takeaways and what do you think is next for both teams?
Baltimore got to pay Lamar. This is exactly why you pay Lamar. This is it. Like, I feel like with these players, like I understand that you don't want to pay him for the possible injuries, but the reality is, what else can he do for you to prove that he deserves the money you should pay him? You should have paid him, and they shouldn't try to paint it as though he's letting the team down. When the reality is, if he RG3s himself and gets injured, his career is over, and nobody cares. You know what I mean? But he's trying to protect his investment, so they should have paid him. It was real foul for them to announce Roquan Smith deal too and not get Lamar's done when they had 2 years. That was stinky. They shouldn't have did that. But the Ravens, they did what they could. I mean, they didn't have their starting quarterback. If they did, they would have beat the Bengals. The Bengals, I don't know, man. The Bengals, to me, they're still not a top-tier team. They're not a second layer. They're like level B team because they can do it. They're like the Vikings. They can do it, but they might undo themselves in the midst of doing it. They got to get the ball to Jamar Chase. I mean, more if he's going to catch him, pass him. Joe Mixon has to run more than 11 times. They got to stop with this. Like, you can't have Joe Burrow pass 32 times, but have Joe Mixon run 11 times for 39 yards. it's unacceptable. 3 passes for 17 yards. Come on, you got to use these guys better. It's going to be different when you get to the next round, though, for the Bengals because they're going to have to play better teams, and eventually they're going to come up against people in their division that's not playing no games, and they're not going to be able to have games like this again. So, we'll see.
Yes, we will.
I think the Bengals most definitely going to have to show up that offensive line again, because that offensive line is letting Joe Burrow get beat up again, and I don't think he's going to survive another 9 sacks in one game in the playoff again, especially if he's going to go up against a team that's going to be a shootout like Buffalo or Kansas City.
This is why you got a problem. And he had more to say.
He had a lot to say. He said he should have got the ball more. Lamar would have played. Like I said, the Ravens, that was coaching. That was hard. That was all coaching for not riding Dobbins. Dobbins was hot. Every time that he was averaging, if I'm not mistaken, 3.5 yards a carry. And they just stopped running them.
So that leads me to the next question. Mike Vick, we talked about him earlier, came out and had some advice for Lamar Jackson preceding this game. In so many words, he said, actually, I think I have it here. It's the playoffs. You're 3 games away. Put a brace on it. Get it going. I played a whole season with my torn MCL. Real old manish is how a lot of these former players come off. There's too much money involved today. And as somebody that would have a lot of knowledge and insight, we had a response from Mr. Robert Griffin himself. And said, this is what happens when you play with a brace. So my question for you guys is, and y'all, Dev, and I've been consistent, I don't think Lamar should have played this year, personally. I would not have played if I was Lamar this year. But given the sentiment, given that your team was able to get to the playoffs, and it is only 3 games, whose side do you ride on? We look at people all the time that make it once and never get back. With this opportunity that they had, and we all agree that if he played and he was healthy, they win. Whose side are you on? I'll start with you, Dev.
RG3. I agree with RG3 fully. Like when Michael Vick, when he said it was only 3 games. How long did it take RG3 once he got hurt by us that year? How long did he last that season? I can tell you, 3 games. By that 3rd game, that picture that you just had up, it was RG3 knee finally giving out. You know what I mean? So those 3 games, it's crucial because he's a running style quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback. He uses his legs more than any quarterback in the league, probably. It's no way that you want a guy with a ligament damage to be out there playing, because at any given time, that ligament can just give away. We don't know how strong a ligament is until you actually put yourself through some type of pain or some type of something that you want to go through. But he's under contract. He's not, you know what I mean? The Ravens didn't didn't give him that long-term contract. He betted on himself. He betted on himself to the point that he got hurt. You know what I mean? So I don't know what more do you want from a guy that betted on himself. Everybody can't be a Kirk Cousins and bet on themselves and last the whole season. But the only reason why Kirk Cousins really lasted a whole season is because nobody really had expectations of Kirk Cousins. Everybody was just like, oh yeah, it's Kirk Cousins. And during that time, it was with Washington where it was still dysfunction there. But Michael Vick, if I'm pretty sure you didn't talk to Lamar numerous times, and I'm pretty sure you told that man you do what's best for you. Because that's all everybody always going to. You do what's best for you. And I think what was best for Lamar in his career was to sit out. You know what I mean? If he wouldn't have sat out and he would have got hurt, hypothetically, he tore his ACL. Now, which team is going to want him? Now that $230 million guarantee that he's looking for, he's nowhere near going to get that. And then he's going to have to prove himself at the year on the franchise tag until either Baltimore say, you know what, we're just going to go somewhere else and do it, or another team is going to be like, oh, you know what, we'll take him. And then he's never right. We see RG3 career never got back on track after that injury. He went to Cleveland. And what happened? That first game in Cleveland, knee gave out again. It is like, oh man, he go. I hate to say it, but here go Tank again. He's hurt. He's going to be on the sideline. He's the street clothes of the NFL. You know what I mean? But Lamar did the best thing, man. Yes, the Ravens would have won if Lamar was out there on the field, but for him and his career, he did the best thing. If you didn't want to pay me, why should I put my body out there on the line now?
So I've heard this conversation a lot, and I hear a lot of your statement was Lamar did what was best for Lamar. My question is, when you sign up for that position in that sport, is not the team bigger than that? Like, it's hard for me to imagine there aren't other players that were willing to play hurt for the team. So if he was incapable of playing, I hear y'all. And I'm definitely on the advocate of get your money while you can. I completely understand it. Isaiah Thomas will always be Isaiah Thomas because of that situation. So I completely understand that. But in football, where it's like the ultimate team game, I just feel it hits different. And as much as that was a shot, I believe, at ownership that Dobbins took and management, I could easily see him being frustrated with Lamar too. Like, we've had a bunch of injuries while you was quarterback. We've had a bunch of running backs in and out. We've been fighting. And now we fought to this point thinking you was going to come back. And now you ain't here. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. But I don't know if that played as well. Because we saw what happened when Le'Veon sat out. They ain't like that.
Right. But what would you take? Would you take a 70%? Let's give him a 50% because we don't know how extensive the knee injury was. Would you take a 50% Lamar, throw him out there now, or would you not have Lamar all next season because you might have a horrific injury?
Yep.
So
that's why I say it's gonna get tricky either way how we look at it.
It is. I see the AFC. I think it's gonna be tough for a long time. And we're watching Dallas, and I'm a Washington fan. We ain't been in a competitive playoff game in like 20 years. Like, I hear y'all, but if I potentially could miss this window, the Rams look like a totally different team the next year. And so
if RG3,
go ahead.
So if RG3 had y'all knocking on the door of the playoffs during that time before he got hurt, he had y'all knocking in, what would you rather him do? Sit him out? Or would you just say, you know what, RG, man, look, you our first round pick. You gotta get out there. And then, you know what I mean? Now look at his career now.
So here's my thing about this. There's a lot of moving parts. One, if I'm Lamar, a lot of what this also says to me is you don't trust the organization to take care of you. 100%. Because if you go get hurt, you don't think they still gonna pay you. And we saw Dallas pay Michael Gallup off his torn ACL. The Rams did not pay Odell. So I think that also says a lot to me that he wasn't willing to play because he felt if I get hurt, they're going to leave me hanging. So that's my first point. My second point is if I believe I'm me, I play because I'm good enough to play without running. And yeah, it's a risk, but man, the reward, if I can get through these 3 games, could be so great. And I think most people would give him a pass if he didn't play well. Like timing, all that would be off. So outside of injury, I think it was all upside. And that's a huge risk. But if I'm in that position and I'm me and I think I'm good enough, whether I sit out a year, Joe Burrow had to sit out a year. A bunch of people that had to sit out. And they've come back and been able to perform. I'm betting on myself again, and I'm coming back to play. But that's just me. Go ahead,
I think that's a hopeful perspective because I feel that I agree with what RG3 said. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You know what kind of injury could happen. Lamar Jackson could mess up his knee and then he could tear his ACL. He could tear his Achilles. It could be any series of injuries, and there's no guarantee they ever pay him. And this is the only time these athletes get the opportunity to make bread like this. So for me, if I'm Lamar, I'm sitting until the team got to understand because the organization is not taking care of the players. And the players got to get that. You don't always get to make it there 100%, but Lamar's made it to the playoffs every year of his career. So it's not like it's not a possibility. He knows it's possible. But you got to pay him. And if the organization can't try to guilt trip him if they're not willing to do their part, they had 2 years to pay this man. They had 2 years to get something done, right? But you bring in Roquan Smith and pay him immediately. It's kind of a slap in the face, and you announced it a couple of days before the game. So it's like, you kind of put him in a position where it's like, we're not going to pay you, but we're definitely paying him just to let you know. And he's done nothing for us. Lamar Jackson's MVP. Lamar Jackson's broke records. Lamar Jackson can pass the ball. He can do everything you want him to do. There's only maybe three teams that wouldn't take him as their quarterback if he was available right now. Only 3. But every other team would love to have Lamar Jackson. So for the Ravens not to pay him, what are you going to get? Derek Carr? Geno Smith? What are you going to get that's going to be even comparable to Lamar Jackson? Nothing. So pay the man. Pay him.
Yeah, but it's a big price tag. And this has been my pushback. We're all assuming they win if Lamar plays. History has said that ain't guaranteed. But I think it's a really tough position to have been in, and I'm not against his decision. Like I said, I wouldn't have started this year, but once you decided to play this year with this opportunity, I just think it's tough to sit. And he didn't even travel with the team. That's not a great look to me. Either you really, really ain't healthy because you ain't good enough to travel, or and he had a post on his story about appreciating what you got. It's just, I think Baltimore in a tough spot that it's their fault. It is 100% their fault, but it's still a tough spot to be in. Quick update on 3rd down. Dak just threw it out of bounds. So they will punt 24-0. Tampa Bay has looked awful in every aspect on offense. It is Brady, and we are getting towards the 4th quarter, but they need something because this has been hard to watch.
They need a miracle.
But we talked about it earlier, but I do want to come back to it and get y'all opinion. I asked the question about Danny Dimes and his crop of quarterbacks and who you pay. But Dev is right. You got to pay both. Zach, who do you give the money and who do you franchise? Or have they shown you enough to say we can invest in both for the long-term future?
You got to franchise Saquon Barkley. Make him do it another year. He was injured. He came back. He played great this year. but you can franchise him if you have to. You got to pay Daniel Jones, period, point blank. You got to pay him. You have to pay Daniel Jones. You have to keep Daniel Jones. You have to keep Dable there. I think you can franchise Barkley if you have to, but if not, I would give him a 3-year contract and try to make it. I would front end it, try to pay him more up front because running backs take Pete over time, or maybe do what Dallas did with Zeke and bring up a backup running back so that he can get still good touches, but you can get some relief. But I think you got to keep these guys because this is the core of the offense. They really don't have no receivers in New York. Like Darius Slayton is their best guy, and he doesn't get catches like that. So. I think that this offseason is going to be good for them, though, because a lot of people are going to want to come play in New York.
So that I'm glad you said that. So how much are you paying Danny a year?
He's in the B tier quarterback range. You got to pay him with B. He can't get paid like Mahomes. He can't get paid like the big boys. He got to be in that second level. So I don't know. 20,
I got a question.
I know, like. You got to. I don't know what you can give him.
Go ahead, Deb.
Do you pay Danny Dimes what you paid Kyler Murray?
You got to pay.
Kyler Murray. He's better than Kyler Murray.
That's my
because you got to think Kyler Murray didn't get no playoff dub yet. Kyler Murray had a higher seed. Kyler Murray got Kyler Murray got a Pro Bowl because he went to the Pro Bowl for the first time last year. I think that's like the only thing that Kyler Murray got over Danny Dimes right now.
He shouldn't have went to the Pro Bowl. He shouldn't have been there, but I think that's like the only thing you got over him. So, do you give Danny Dimes Kyler Murray money?
You got to keep him happy. So, yeah. You got to pay him. The franchises, honestly, at this point, it's a market. So, you got to understand the market. You got to respect your quarterback because we've seen with Aaron Rodgers and these other quarterbacks, you can – disrespect them, but at some point you get into situations like Lamar Jackson. You never looked out for me, so I'm not looking out for you. And I think you got to create a business relationship. So you got to pay Daniel Jones. And on top of that, the best part, he can run with his legs, but his game's not predicated on his ability to run. Daniel Jones can pass in the pocket. He can stay behind a decent line. I mean, the Giants don't even have the greatest line. So, he's a good quarterback. I think you just pay him. You got to pay what you have. I mean, I think everybody has to stop thinking that every object or every other player is better than what they got. Because right now, what more can you ask for from the Giants, from a quarterback? So,
I hear y'all, but I couldn't disagree more. Y'all know, and I'm glad, Dev, that was a great question you posed. Kyler Murray got 5 years, $230.5 million. 185.5 million guaranteed. Even if I match that for Daniel Jones, that's a lot of money. That's a lot. Average annual salary 46.1 a year. I'm not giving Daniel Jones that.
Well, let me ask you a question on the other side then. Is Daniel Jones top 20 quarterback?
So here's what, Zach, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he's better than Kyler and a lot of those other people I named. So I think you have to pay him that. I just can't swallow that. I would franchise him this year, and I'll give Saquon 3 years, like you said, front-loaded, make him happy for 3 years, but I'm not committing 5 years to Daniel Jones at that kind of money. And it could bite me. It could definitely bite me. But that's a lot of money. And it's only going to go up because Burrow, Herbert, Jax, Lamar, and Tua all got to get paid. Derek Carr ain't going to take no chump change either. I know he on his way out. Well, he has 2 years left, so I don't know if y'all going to cut him. But
I think they're going to try to trade him first.
The Deshaun deal, like these quarterback Dax deal, these quarterback deals is crazy, and they be long. So, man, that's
what if they beat the Eagles though? Then what?
If they beat the Eagles, he can name his price. They beat the Eagles and they go to an NFC championship. Yeah, he can name his price, and New York got to pay it, especially with the Mets and the way they spent money. Like you got to keep up. So
yeah,
but I think if I'm the Giants, I wouldn't give both of them a big contract. I think both of them probably most definitely deserve a 2 to 3 year contract. Only because for Daniel Jones, it's not a lot of quarterbacks that's really going to be in this free agent market, really. And if you going to want to kind of start over, you might as well just go in the draft, and look to see if there's somebody that can potentially get Daniel Jones in the quarterback competition in a couple years. But as of right now, I'm not saying that Daniel Jones he's most definitely shouldn't get no 5-year nothing. You know what I mean? Because at once upon a time, Daniel Jones was on his way out the door.
He was
up in New York. So I would most definitely, if it's possible, but him and Saquon has to have a prove it 2 to 3 year deal. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to prove to me that you want this next contract now, because if we both try to pay both of y'all, now how we gonna get a wide receiver? Like what Zach said, they don't have nobody to really. He been throwing to no names all year, and the only way we can attract a free agent or a big name is we have a couple dollars in our pocket. And if we ain't got no money, then we're gonna be stuck in the same predicament for the next couple of years. So I think the Giants most definitely need to just don't max him. I wouldn't give him the big contract, but don't, as Ray would say, don't DeAndre Ayton him.
Don't do it. And we're gonna get to him too. Kenny keep running. Ever since DeAndre Ayton been playing like trash, Kenny keep missing the show. I'm not surprised that he keep coming up missing. And this would have been a great night for him to gloat. But we saw his schedule. He allegedly he's a coach. That's what he say.
He said allegedly.
Allegedly.
Hey, Kenny, this is all Ray. I just want to make sure that you come at Ray, because Ray always shooting his gun.
Always. But that does lead to another quarterback conversation. Chicago Bears do have the number 1 overall pick. Justin Fields is currently their quarterback. Justin Fields, another name that's going to need to get paid on his rookie deal. If you're Chicago, what do? Do you trade him? You trade the pick? You move back? Or do you draft another position? Zach, I'll start with you.
You got to keep Justin Fields. Chicago is just not good. So I feel like to scapegoat him is pointless. Like, they're just not good at all. Like, watching them games, they were like 3-12. It's unacceptable. You can't be that bad and then say it's all his fault when he was the only good player on your whole team, keeping you in games. I mean, there was a game when he hit Mooney in the hands in the end zone and he dropped it. Like, stuff like that. It's like, how can you be mad at this guy? He almost broke a rushing record this year. So I'm not big on unproven assets. I don't like trading proven players for draft picks because I feel that the hype train leads people astray. We've seen it with Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker in the NBA. All these guys, they're supposed to come in and be amazing, and they're not. So I say stick with Justin Fields, build around him. I mean, you done sacked this man a league-high amount of time, so give him an opportunity to show something. I think getting a rookie is working backwards because you don't know if he's going to be good or not. So, but you do know what you got with Justin Fields. And I think if you trade him, you get a lot of assets back, but once again, you don't know what you're going to get unless you're just going to be trash for a couple of years. So if you're the Bears, I think you keep Justin Fields. You build around him. You got Claypool. You got other decent players that you can work with. Maybe get some free agents, and you see what you can do next year.
I think we have a touchdown, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Brady,
Tampa Bay.
Julio Jones. I believe he completes the process of
Julio Jones.
The knee is down inbounds. 24-6. Tom Brady
came to play for one game.
Oh boy.
Mr. Hamstring himself.
95-yard drive in 3 minutes. This game we're not done yet, ladies and gentlemen, but
yeah,
Tampa going for 2. Hey, Dak still owes us an interception. He got a little streak even on.
Yo said he owes us an interception.
He's only hitting like 7 straight games or something. It's a pretty bad stat. So hopefully for the Bucks bettors, they get it going. But that does lead me to basketball. We'll touch on a couple topics before we get out of here. Ja Morant. For those of you who have not seen, prepare to witness just greatness, I guess is the easiest way to put it. Let me see if I can get this pulled up. So for those of you who didn't see, this is what you missed.
Morant against McConnell. Pick and roll. Morant. Oh, my word. Holy cow.
I think you guys get the message. I think it's time we got to revisit this conversation. As it comes to in-game dunkers, where do we place Ja Morant at this point in his career? Dev, I'll start with you.
In-game dunkers, boys, because there's some in-game dunkers that don't get a lot of recognition. We can put Ja in the top 10. We can most definitely put him in the top 10 now, because even Ja misses. When he misses the dunks, he still be like, oh my God, if he just, oh man, it's just like a wow moment. So, Ja most definitely give you that wow factor. I can think of one in-game dunk off my head, and that's Derrick Jones for the Chicago Bulls right now. I don't know if y'all seen him the other day. He had he had a dunk where you was like, damn, he still got springs in his legs, man. We ain't heard about Derrick Jones in years. And so I know he's one of my favorite in-game dunkers. I can't think of nobody else off top of my head right now, at least in current situation. But Ja, he's most definitely electrifying, man. I'm surprised he ain't give us one tonight. But that dunk against for the other night, boy, it was like woo. Had me jump up out my seat a little bit.
And it looks like a blown call. I was watching. Looked like there was a nice little grab on Godwin that went uncalled. But okay, I can live with top 10. Zach, you are an avid basketball fan. Where do you have Ja Morant as far as in-game dunkers at this point?
He's like top 5. Easy top 5. I think I don't count big men, so I'm not gonna say like a center dunking to me ain't impressive because it's not hard. But Ja get up there and he's dunking on your center, on your big man, on your defenders, on anybody. So I think the style points is what pushes it over, and I think that he's consistently scoring like this. It's not like he dunks like once every couple months. He's giving people the business in the paint. So I think Ja definitely is one of the top 5 in-game dunkers. But to be honest, I don't think I can name 3 dunkers that are better than him off the top of my head in game, other than Vince Carter. You know what I mean? That's active in the league. Vince Carter, I think, is the best in-game dunker ever, but I think Ja is definitely up there. He's a little dude too, so he's getting hot. He's getting up there, dunking on your center. I mean, making your interior defense look pathetic. So I think he's that boy.
Nah, I'm leaning with Zach. Obviously, I'm going Jordan, Vince. And then there's a lot of other guys that have made some great. There's a lot of guys that have had some signature dunks.
Can we put Sean Kemp in there, or he considered as a big man?
No, this is just period. And so I was thinking he's the guy that came to mind. But the frequency with which we keep seeing Ja do this, like at his size in this NBA where, everybody's bigger, faster, stronger, like it's incredible. And he said it, like, jump with me if you want to be on the highlight reel. Like, he don't play. So he's definitely in my top 5. Outside of the 2 I named, I can't just definitively say there's anybody else better. Consistent.
What about Donovan Mitchell?
No.
He ain't never.
Zach
Never put
LaVine.
nobody in a
Zach
poster.
LaVine? What about like a Zach LaVine? Maybe a Aaron Gordon, maybe, because he not really a dunker no more. But
He
Aaron
was
Gordon
shooting at threes.
once upon a time, Aaron Gordon was one of the best in-game dunkers. Period to me.
I don't know. He's at the top of my list.
We're gonna have to most definitely do some research and bring this topic back up.
Absolutely. But it is time, ladies and gentlemen. We need to have a Phoenix Suns portion of our show.
It's called the intervention. That's all it is now. It's the intervention.
I understand. Big third down conversion to Gallup on the slant. Y'all know how I've been. And this is the thing about, and I said this on my other podcast. When you talk trash to somebody with a platform, they get to come back every time they're on their platform and just keep talking. And so the longer y'all hold out on this DeAndre Ayton character, the longer we got to put these people through this dance and episode. For those of you who did not know, on the great Martin Luther King Jr. Day, DeAndre Ayton played. And I just want to point out, while I was watching that game,
My man had 18 points and 5 rebounds.
Strong 18 and 5.
Mm.
Can you tell them the score of the game, Dev?
136 to 106 Memphis.
So, Zach, you're a little newer on this side. I've been getting grief for the longest time, probably since last year, when I said DeAndre Ayton was not a max player, because he's not. Mm-hmm. Now, he got max money, so technically he's a max player. But I didn't feel like his talent warranted that deal, and neither did Phoenix, which is why they didn't initially give it to him. Now, what I've been consistently told is DeAndre Ayton's a number 2. He just needs more touches and more opportunity. Do you know how the good Lord works, Zach? The good Lord allows opposition to come and test you and try you in the fire. And DeAndre Ayton has been tried by fire as Devin Booker and Chris Paul have been out. And they're like 2-11 in their last 13 games. He had a 5-point game. He's been absolutely atrocious at times.
Yep.
So, Dev, I know you're here as the correspondent. I would like you to pass this on to Kenny. Kenny, stop.
All right, hold on. Let me get on camera. Kenny, Ray would like for us to stop.
Stop.
We can't no longer talk about DeAndre Ayton. I got to the point now that I don't even want to talk about DeAndre Ayton no more. DeAndre Ayton was he I don't know what's the Phoenix Suns' problem anymore. I just think, like I told y'all a couple weeks ago, I think the Phoenix Suns just need to go ahead and blow this team up while they still have some flavor to them. I think the only person that can be saved is Devin Booker on that team, because I think even Monty Williams needs to go, because as I'm just sitting here just looking at all, I'm sitting here now, I'm looking at everybody's shot selection now, and this is terrible.
Touchdown, Cowboys.
This is just terrible that nobody on the Suns today, without your 2 top stars, has put up 16 shots. Nobody. No, so nobody. We all tried to fight for Mikal Bridges. He went 8 from 16. 21 points though, but 8 from 16. If he was supposed to be the guy that the next man up, dog, you supposed to be that 16 shots supposed to be at least 22 shots.
Facts.
DeAndre Ayton, we've been fighting for you. I'm getting tired of fighting now. You went 8 from 11. You had a good solid 18 points. But those 11 shots, that should have automatically been 20 shots. I don't care if you went 8 for 22 or any. you should automatically have 22 shot attempts. Everybody else should be in the 11s, 2 from 9s, 2 for 7s, 4. That's why I was saying that the Suns. I don't think the Suns have don't have chemistry. They don't have. It's pretty much Devin Booker or nothing. And if you have a team, if you're going to have this Devin Booker or nothing, you might as well just go ahead and blow this team up now. I'm done. I'm done with the Suns. I'm done. I'm no longer fighting for these guys no more. I done fought long enough. Y'all done making my name starting to look bad now. I can't do it no more. I don't like losing to Ray. I'm tired of him having his shots fired in the group chats and then he come on over here. I'm tired of it. Ayton, I'm tired of it, Ayton. Got my blood pressure up.
That is all. That's all I got for y'all in relation to the Phoenix Suns. I did not pick them to make the playoffs, and currently they are not in the playoff picture. I did not have Devin Booker getting hurt, but I just felt that team was broken. And Charles Barkley, and Lord knows I'm not one to quote Charles Barkley because I'm not much of a fan of his. But he said it on TNT tonight. He said the team is just, the chemistry just off. Whatever it is, something is off there. Jay Crowder, they haven't traded him. They won't release him, but they ain't playing him. I hate when teams do that. They did that to John Wall. Like, figure it out. Don't just sit me down like I'm not valuable. If I'm not valuable, cut me. If I am valuable, trade me. But I really don't like that they can do that to people's careers. They did that to Miles Turner, and now look at Miles Turner. They sent him home last year, and now he's cooking better than Ayton. But
facts.
It's one of those things. We had the episode, and I don't know if we asked about Phoenix, but I agree with you. Like, the window's closed. I think they missed the window with that group. Chris Paul's not it. You got to find a replacement. Cam Payne, for whatever reason, has not stepped up to be that replacement, whether it's availability or performance.
He's not that guy either.
But Bridges, to me, is like Chris Middleton. He's like PJ Tucker. He can be a nice third or fourth option, but he can't be a leading scorer. That's not his strength. That's not his skill set. And if you want him to be that, you're going to be what you are.
At least Chris Middleton is going to give you about 15 shot attempts. And out of those 15, Chris Middleton is going to be efficient. You know what I mean? So it's just about confidence. And like I said, I don't think the Phoenix Suns has chemistry no more. I think we talked about this like 2 episodes ago, Ray. That time window has gone now. And as always, Chris Paul comes late when the time window is so short. He got to Houston. Time window was short. You know what I mean? He got the Thunder don't really count because nobody really thought the Thunder was going to the playoffs. And now he got the Phoenix. Like, that window was short. That Western Conference, it's like your windows are very, very short when you're in the Western Conference. This ask Dame Lillard. You know what I mean? Dame has not really got back to the Western Conference Finals in how long now? Or even he ever made it to the Western Conference Finals.
And he probably ain't going back no time soon.
Yeah.
So now, go ahead.
The Suns, I don't feel like you got to blow it up, but I do feel like you can make some changes. I feel like if you get rid of Chris Paul and Jay Crowder, package him up with some other pieces, and go get Russell Westbrook. Get somebody that can score, keep y'all moving up and down the court. Give somebody – this is the problem with the Suns. Devin Booker cannot score all the points all the time. That's all they ever do. Chris Paul has played 26 games this season. He's putting up like 14 and 7. Russell Westbrook guaranteed in his season in Washington, he put up 22, 11, and 11. He can do that at Phoenix. Better players, they run up and down the floor. He can put Ayton in positions to score because Ayton is somebody that I feel like is a system player. He is going to just give him the ball, let him score, let him get his couple rebounds. I think Russell Westbrook can do that. I think Chris Paul is great, but he's not what this team needs. Chris Paul would do much better on the Lakers. He can stay over there, do whatever the Lakers going to do. They can just let his contract ride out because LeBron's not leaving, right? He wants to play until Bronny gets in the league, so that's 2-3 years. Send Chris Paul over there. He can pack it with LeBron, go do LA stuff. But in Phoenix, get Russell Westbrook and let it move.
Chris Paul ain't gonna work in LA. That ain't gonna
Hey,
work.
it's better than Phoenix.
Chris Paul guy had a ball. He got to pretty much run the offense. And LeBron, you know what I'm saying, he can take plays off because he do take plays off of running the offense, but that ain't gonna work. I just don't see Chris Paul and LeBron. If that was gonna work, that they would have to team up around that time he went to Miami. I think now that you got two older players, because you seen what the Lakers tried to do last year when we had older players. It didn't work for us. You know what I mean? Melo wasn't always in the lineup. We was getting beat on the defense a lot. So going older for the Lakers should not be an option. I think the Lakers should most definitely try to throw some young key pieces in here while LeBron is still here. But
But do you feel like LeBron could be the best player on the championship team right now? With what the Lakers have right now, do you think anybody can save them that's not an all-star?
No, I don't think the Lakers that Rob Pelinka didn't put enough role players around LeBron. If we look back at around before we get there, right, good enough role players around LeBron. Because if you look back, all the times that LeBron was competing for a championship, it was always he had that strong number two and a possibly number three, that can bring it on. D Wade was the strong number two in Miami, and Chris Bosh was that possible. Once he flipped that switch on, it was most definitely Miami was unbeatable. When he got to Cleveland again, he had Kyrie's that strong too, and then you have Kevin Love or J.R. Smith or somebody that can give you that quick spark real quick that can help LeBron catch his breath real quick. Then when he got to the Lakers, he had that AD as that strong number two, and then he had we had a bunch of different type of role players with the Kyle Kuzma, the Markieff Morris, the Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. It was like so many multiple players on that Lakers team that year we won in the bubble that was able to help and coach LeBron to it. Now, what the Lakers done did was you got way too many role players, like way too many. Like you got an Austin Reeves, the Kendrick Nunn. You have a Troy Brown. You have all these role players who hasn't really did anything in the NBA far enough as to be a consistent role player. The only person you have consistent as a good role player is Dennis Schroeder, and he's not always healthy like how he was in the beginning of the season. He was dealing with a hand injury. So I just think that the Lakers didn't put enough good role players around LeBron this time around, and now it's just you just fighting. That's all the Lakers can do is just fighting. You land wherever you land at.
I don't. I see it. I see it pretty different. I think a big part of what people forget about that bubble championship is they did play in the bubble, and we heard the stories of who didn't want to be there, and all those stories. The part that people a lot of times forget, in my opinion, is there was that long break before the bubble. And that break was crucial to get because AD was hurt and so was LeBron. And that allowed both of them to rest and get healthy and then go into a situation where they were just the most mentally strong team. I think this team and roster has been flawed for a long time. And that bubble run was just an anomaly. Because outside of that run, this team has not been good. Like, they've accomplished nothing outside of that one run. And so for me, I think the difference with this group and why I have a hard time blaming Rob is you mentioned Miami. You know what happened to Miami? All three of them gave money back. They all took less. In this situation, Russ, AD, and LeBron are all maxed out. So you lose a lot of that opportunity to sign some better veterans, to sign better role players, because you have no money and you traded all your draft capital. And I don't think Rob Pelinka does that unless LeBron James says that's what he wants. So I know it's easy to blame Rob, but I don't know what else you really wanted him to do. given what he worked with. And the Russell Westbrook trade don't look half bad this year. Like in his current role, he's setting records. He's playing well. It took him some time to figure out a role for him, but I think he's, reinvigorated his career, which I'm really excited to see. Because I've never been the biggest fan of his, but I want to see a hard player do well. And he's definitely that. So I do think, and I said it on this episode, I'd blow it up. Send LeBron to Golden State. Go get Draymond and Clay, or DiVincenzo and Clay, or whatever package you want to put together. Send AD out. Get what you can for AD, and call it a day. Because this core is done.
It's not it.
It's absolutely done. And I don't know what they're holding on to, but they ain't going nowhere. Zach, your closing thought.
Yeah, the Lakers they're Swiss cheese out here, so they're done. I think they should just see. I think the issue is you don't want to be the one that trades LeBron, and I don't even know what you really get for LeBron, because if I'm Rob Pelinka, I'm calling anyone. I say I got LeBron James. What do you want? You gonna want my young players? I'm gonna tell you no. LeBron's not playing in 3 years, and even if he is, I don't want somebody that's gonna take up all this team salary and he's not gonna be good. And he's going to want to bring his son on. It's going to be a bunch of hoopla. It's no knock to LeBron. It's just I don't think at this point he can win as a number one player in the league. Not that he can't put up the stats. I just think health-wise, durability-wise, all that other stuff, I just think you got to move on from that. And until you can move on from Bron, I don't even know. Why would you trade AD? It's like the same thing that happened with Kobe the last few years of Kobe. Once Kobe had tore his Achilles and he just wasn't good, it was like, until he leaves, we just going to be bad. And that's what it looks like the Lakers are doing. So it is what it is.
So Zach, that's an interesting point, because I agree. As great as LeBron is playing, I don't think you can win the title with him as your number one. But if I'm a team in the league, and I wouldn't do it if I was Cleveland, but if I'm Boston, I got a lot of options outside of Tatum and Brown. You can have whatever you want. And I'm going to take LeBron, Tatum, and Brown, and we're going to go win us a ring. You can have Brogdon, you can have Marcus Smart, you can have Williams, you can have Horford. We got a bunch of pieces, and we got some picks. Go crazy. Like, that to me makes sense. If I'm Golden State, I get out. You got too many people to pay, whether it's Wiggins, Clay, or Draymond. You can't pay all of them. Move them. Like, get the value you can. And I think LeBron is willing to, he'll still be in the state of California. I think he can definitely fit in that offense. And he can take over the ball handling role since Steph is not a point guard, and I won't waste a bunch of time on that. But I think
I say that battle for you and Kenny.
Yeah, that's what I said. I ain't even gonna go there. Like, if I'm Memphis, like, I think LeBron's a great fit. I think there are some elite teams that have young talent that we talked about with the Lamar situation. Do you risk it for the run? And I think if you ask the Lakers, and that's what I get told every time when you talk about they traded all the players away in their youth, but they got a ring. And I think if you're Memphis and in 2 years from now, you got John Morant, Dylan Brooks, and Desmond Bane, and LeBron's gone, and maybe you've lost some youth, but you got a ring, I take that trade.
I don't see Dylan Brooks being in Memphis too long.
That's my
an
only
extreme thought.
I mean, that's what I do here on Real Talk. We do extremes and talk about extreme 31-6. I don't know if anybody had 31-6 happening.
5 minutes left, and Dallas got the ball.
You done told me, you didn't had me say, man, don't bet against Tom Brady.
You did it right
there. And you know what I mean? Now you persuaded me to come over here, and now the party empty. You know, all the girls went home. Like, golly, right?
Listen.
We got you brought me too late, man. Too late.
Listen. sometimes you gotta do what you feel is best. And I am not a gambling agency. I do not give gambling advice. I did not tell you what to do. I simply shared my.
I guess you gonna hit me with the Bill Clinton, huh? I did not have sexual relations with this lady.
Oh man, Dak airing it out. And he
I
should
guess Dak must got a statement to make. He got a point to make.
It's 31.
Hey, everybody was running their mouth after the Commanders put their hands on them Cowboys, but he want to show you like we ain't no suckers. So I give it to him, but
next
who
Sunday
they play next week?
San Fran.
Yeah, never mind. If they play San Fran, they're gonna lose. But San Fran, I think is probably one of the best teams in the postseason right now, and they hot. Dallas ain't gonna beat them.
I will say, if I'm Dallas, you should come in with some momentum, but I agree. I am surprised. I picked Tampa. I did expect Tampa to have a much better showing, but these playoffs have been kind of wonky so far. But that's all I got. Go ahead.
Isn't this about to be the first home team to lose in playoffs this so far? Or did another home team lose already?
I thought
was the Chargers home? No, they was in Jacksonville.
No, they were in Jacksonville.
Yeah, they were in Jacksonville. Let me see. No, nope. The Giants beat the Vikings.
That's right.
All the other home teams won except Tampa, and they got pummeled. So it's been real, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on this MLK Day. I wanted to save this to the end, but if we got an MLK Day, and this is not to dump on him, and this is why I waited to the end of the day to say it, we need a Malcolm X Day. I know what they've taught us in high school and education, but they were both pivotal and influential in this country. And Martin became a whole lot more Malcolm, and Malcolm became a little bit more Martin. But Malcolm needs his respect.
100%.
So that's my 2 cents as we part out of here. Thank you, everything for Martin you did. Obviously, we have a long way to go. If y'all saw the recent murder of Keenan Anderson, we got a long way to go in this country. But shout out to him. And I think we also need a Malcolm X Day, but that's my 2 cents. Put it in, what is our month? February. You can put it in February somewhere. But I think we need to put a little bit more respect on Malcolm's name. That's just my 2 cents. Anything from y'all before we get out of here?
Let's put a little respect on a whole lot of Black Africans. Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman. Everybody, we feel that if MLK can have a day, those people also have a days too. So let's not forget, man.
This is what happens. They give us an inch and you want a mile. I just asked for one name.
So what?
They is not about to give us 5 of these jokers. They barely got 5 presidential holidays.
Man, look, they most definitely ain't gonna give us no Malcolm X Day. Do you think they gonna give us by any means necessary day?
They gave us hip hop month.
They ain't gonna give us by any means necessary. They ain't gonna give us Detroit Red.
You're right. A man can wish. I believe I am checking. I believe we should be back on Thursday. I don't think I have nothing planned, so I will be here Thursday. We will obviously preview next week's playoff games as it gets a little bit tighter. We're gonna have to have a Tom Brady conversation. We ain't gonna do it now, but we're gonna have to have that Tom Brady conversation because I don't think this team
hang it up.
Yeah, Dak sent him on a retirement trip.
This team can't compete next year, in my opinion. So he's gonna have to go somewhere, do something. But this ain't it.
Tom Brady to the Commanders.
I'll sign me up every day.
Tom Brady. It's gonna be Tom Brady to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Negative. He gonna be a Raven.
Josh McDaniel was going to push for that. I'm trying to tell you. He gonna be like, save me, oh King, save me.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
That's unacceptable. I'll take Carson Wentz.
You can have
what? Oh my God. Hey,
I'm trouble.
you know
I
what?
can't do it.
I'll go and say, Zach, man, you is no longer welcome back to Real Talk because I don't think that was real.
Oh man. Well, on that note, Carson, kick rocks. Y'all have a blast, and we will touch base later on, y'all. We are out.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.